Hello friends, it's Simone. I am coming to you today with a hand-turned fountain pen video kind of thing. And the reason why is because my friend Shauna, who is Serial Nana here on YouTube, has been talking about the Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma as the best, most comfortable fountain pen, hand-turned pen that she has encountered. And of course, when I hear stuff like that, I am curious. And if you're a long-time viewer, you know that I have been talking about trying one of those pens in my most recent pen and nib wishlist video. One of you were so kind to reach out to me and offer this pen and another one that is down here for me to try. So she cleaned them both, sent them my way, and I can try them out and share my thoughts with you all. So she sent me this Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma in the Water Lily Koi finish. I am not going to test any of these nibs on these pens here because all four of them can take any of the Jowo number 6 nibs. That is not what makes these pens special. The nib is interchangeable. It's not like, for instance, with a Waterman Karen. The nib is what makes maybe the design. Maybe somebody else loves the design. I don't particularly care for it. But what makes a Waterman Karen special is the nib. You cannot exchange it and put it on a different body as you can with any of these pens. So the nib is not what is of interest here for me. What is of interest here is how the pen feels in my hand. Maybe if you're a collector and if you're into these swirly resins, something that is really important is how the resin looks. And even though my, sample size is tiny, I have 4 pens from 3 different makers here. There's already things that I observe when I am uncapping those, when I'm looking at the finish, when I'm looking at the how polished these are, when I'm looking at the threads. And that's something that I would like to share with you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about each pen of these individually, tell you the model name. If I know the resin, then I'm going to let you know that I think I know all of them. I don't know if Water Lily Koi is a Carolina Pen Company resin or a Turned Pen Co. That you will have to do your own research. I can put it in the description box down below, but I thought I would measure the capped length. None of these pens are postable, I believe. Well, this kind of works. I'm going to measure the capped length, the uncapped length, the section width, and then we'll talk about and look at the craftsmanship, because that's something that is phenomenal on some of these. I think what I'm going to do is put this information into my journal or notes, or not so sure how that is going to work out, but I talked about this before. This is the Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma model. If I'm not mistaken, this is the only model that James, I believe is his name, has on his shop. Something that I have found with his website is that his product photography is consistent, but it is not good or bad. It's just one way to take photos. He always provides videos of the resin of the pens as well. But for me, it's really hard to be able to visualize how this pen would look in natural light. And so that's one of the reasons why I actually have not purchased a pen yet, because I just have a hard time visualizing the pen in natural light. So I have something to say about this pen shop as well. So this is also critique. So Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma. It is 15 centimeters long. I'm going to use Post-it notes. That's the best way for me to do this right now. Velma. Length is 15 centimeters. And I'm going to use centimeters because that is the measurement that gives me the best visual when I talk about the lengths. You know what? Because I'm a nice person, I'm going to do centimeters and inches. How about that? Okay, let's do the same thing. 5.5 centimeters and 5 inches. And then, see, now I don't know. What is this? 16th? 80-ish? So it's more than 3/4. It's one step before. So this is half, this is 3/4, and then 1/8. Is that true? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, and 7/8. So 5 and 7/8 inches. Let's do the same thing without it being I'm turning this to the side so that I can. This is 5 C unsee 5 and see. That's why you don't do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 16th. And it is, I need to be careful, 14.123. And actually, I never usually need to count because I just know. And probably with you, when you have been in the imperial system for so long, then you also don't need to count each individual thing. You just see what it is. So, the section width. What I'm going to do is measure exactly where the indentation is, basically. What I mean by that is, if you look at this, it flares back out, coming toward the nib. So the narrowest spot is where your fingers, or my fingers at least, would naturally fall. And so that is where the section width is most important. And I'm going to measure it right there. Okay, so it's 11.51 millimeters is that. Do we want to weigh it? I think we should. All right, here's my scale. Then let's put this on here. 23 grams. with the cap on, and just the nib is 16. All right, so I'm going to take this off. Oh, I hate when that happens. So what I think stands out with the Velma model is the fact that the cap is so thin. The width of the cap here is so thin. Something else that I noticed, or actually my son, when we both geeked out over this pen, is the fact that the cap threads fade into the section. So if you look at the threads right here, you can see them, but you can also feel them, but they're not standing out. They are starting to come out right around. Let me do this so that you can see it. I mean, you can still feel them with your fingernail, but they come out more towards this side. And so even if you hold your pen back here, there's basically, you can't even feel that the section where the section attaches to the pen body is right here, because you can't feel the gap here. There is no gap. But when I unscrew it, there, you can see where it comes off. It is just, one goes into the other super smoothly. There's no step up, so to speak. It just slowly gets thicker and thready. And then there's this really tiny step up for the body. This is where the cap stops when you screw it on. And then this is basically almost, there is a step here between the cap and the pen body, but it's really very minimal. It's just a slight minor, it's hard to see with this swirly pen. It's just a minor step right here. And then there is this, whatever this symbol means, I would love to know if you know what this is. That's also one of those things that actually make me hesitate to purchase, because this doesn't have any meaning to me. Does it have a meaning to the maker? And if yes, what does it mean to the maker? Do I get something, a symbol, something that says something that I'm not informed of, and then I am, showing off a symbol that I don't even, identify with? But I think it shows that there is craftsmanship here. This is how all of the pens come. Okay, so now that I gushed, the pen is polished really well. All of the threads are super smooth, as I talked about earlier, but I just want to show you that also the threads in the section here are smooth. The nib sits flush with the section here, which is also something that I don't think I have seen it not being flush, but it's just something I think is worth mentioning when we're looking at all of these pens and comparing them. And then it's very polished. It feels super smooth. The experience of touching the pen is awesome. This is Bone Crusher 7 Studios Velma. These two are from the same maker. They're both Walltown pens. This one is the Watts model. This one is the Onslow model. As you can see, this one looks like a higher end model than this one. Both of them have are very polished. And then let's just go with this one and then with that one. They're very similar. There is a big step from the pen body to the section. You can see that. The cap, the walls of the cap are much thicker on both of them, I believe. Let's check this one. Yep. We can measure them and compare them. If I'm not mistaken, the section is thinner than on the Velma model. But let's do Watts and Onslow. Price-wise, this is the cheaper model. This is more expensive, of course, because it has the finial on both ends and a different colored section, which shows the craftsmanship much more than this clunky pen. So capped, it is 14 centimeters. Uncapped, this is tough because, of course, maybe the nib isn't, this is a specialty nib, the Schon Design Monarch nib, 13. .5 inches. 1/8. Then we'll do the Onslow. This is tougher because I believe the length to me starts where the finial ends, and that is conical. So it is 5 and what did we say? 5 7/8 inches. This goes up here. And then uncapped, it is 5 1/4. One thing that Walltown has now is they customize their nibs. So you have the Walltown pens logo on here. And then we'll do the same thing with centimeters as well. 15 length. So we had that as well here. We'll just use the same, yeah, see, 5 7 in, and then what was this? Is 13.3. That's interesting. The cap adds quite a bit of length to this pen. We have 15 centimeters for the Watts capped, but uncapped, it's 1 centimeter shorter than the Velma model. Then let's measure the section. I believe that the sections are almost interchangeable for the Walltown pens, but we can check, or well, 10.52. That was Velma. And then for the Watts, it is 10.67. So what if we compare those sections here, you can see that they are almost identical. I believe any errors or differences in section width would be because it's a handmade product and it's not ever going to be exactly the same, not like you would get from a machine. So if I put this on here, the threads don't catch. It is super smooth. You can see that right here, and it feels like it would totally fit on this pen as well. I have noticed that with other pen manufacturers as well. For instance, if you have multiple Benu pens and different models, check how they have the exact same section across different models as well. So we wanted to measure the width of the cap, 1.57 millimeters, and then we want to measure the width of this one. It's 2.37. And let's see, I wonder if this is the same. 2.11. It feels like, okay, so because this is person made, craftsmanship involved, of course, if this was made just recently and this was made several years ago, couple years ago, I don't know how old this pen is, I purchased this second hand, then of course maybe your experience, your expertise, your craftsmanship is going to develop, and usually it you get better and better and better the more pens you make. And so possibly the cap width for the watts, because I assume that this is the older pen, might now, I was going to compare the exact same pen just made 2-3 years later, it might also be as thin as the cap on the Onslow. So let's weigh. 27 grams, capped 27 grams, uncapped it's 18, and then we have the Onslow, it is 22 grams and 14. All right, so definitely you can see that the section width is almost a centimeter bigger. Is that so? 11 millimeters. No, it's 1 millimeter bigger. So I feel it. I totally feel that there's a difference in the section width for these two pens. All right, let's look at both of those pens are very well polished. You can see that. The threads for the cap both work really well, very smooth. When I'm looking at how the section attaches to the pen body, you can clearly see that let's say that the faded threads are more elaborate. So at least that's what it seems to me, is that they afford more expertise in handling a lathe. Here is very obvious where the section attaches to the pen body. Same as here, there is a noticeable step up. You can feel it. The threads are the same height throughout from the beginning to the end on both pens. And then the way the pen unscrews is the same. Both are pretty smooth. There's nothing to be concerned about, or it feels like it's, you know, touching, scratchy, not seated well. There's no wiggle room, so to speak. So both of those have nice threads. And then lastly, let me take this off again. This is the Little Pen Designs Acadia model in a house made poured blank called Stargazer. Super sparkly and lovely. This is what the pen looks like when it's uncapped. Let's measure and start. So Acadia, capped, uncapped. Then we have the, and then C and U. All right, so let me put aside all the things that I don't need. The pen is capped. It is 14.3 centimeters. And uncapped, it is 13.3. This makes me wonder, is this actually true? That's a lot. But let's compare the caps in a second. Okay, then let's measure the same thing in inches. 5, and I had this bit previously, didn't we? 14.3, 5 and 9/16. There's no dot here. And then this is 5, 1, 2, 3, 3/8. The section is narrow as well. It doesn't flare out as much as the other two pens do. However, it does have a smaller minor indentation right here. This is 10.67. That's interesting. It's basically the same as the Watts. Is that so? Does it feel the same? Yeah. Interesting. So I haven't inked up this pen yet, the Velma model. I can't wait to see how that feels in my hand because of the bigger section. Let's measure the cap. I feel like this is the biggest, thickest cap, and it is it 215? No, the Watts is the thickest. Huh, interesting. All right, so let's look at this. This pen is definitely, it feels like, if I look at this, it's super shiny. It feels very smooth. This feels like it could be polished a little bit more. Of course, there's no inner polishing in here because that's part of the style of the pen. It feels like this could be polished a little more. When I first got this pen, the threads on the cap, oh, and you can actually see this here. they feel clunky and they don't make a sound, but it feels like it sticks to something. Like can you hear that? That's something that I haven't experienced previously. And then same as the Watts and the Onslow model, you can see the line where the section attaches to the pen body. There is a big step up to the body of the pen. And then this is how the section unscrews. The threads on the section to attach the section to the pen body are not unsmooth, not, I don't know what the other word is, the opposite of smooth. But yeah, that is something that definitely is noticeable. And if you look at there is definitely a little teeny tiny step again from the section to the threads. The threads are the same all the way. How long are the threads? These are much shorter than these here. So there is not as much. Maybe that's the reason why. Is it more, does it have more wiggle room then, and it doesn't screw on as well? I'm really curious. I don't know what makes this cap feel less smooth than this one. I can just, I can just judge. I don't know the reason why something works out the way it does. So that is all that I have to say about these pens. I wanted to weigh them, this last one, and then I would love to hear if you have pens from different makers, and if you notice these differences in craftsmanship. What is the pen maker that you feel is the most, has the most expertise? Which, I can't even make anything that comes close to being a round stick where I can put a nib into and then have a section that writes with a cap. So being able to do this is already amazing. I'm just wondering what you notice in differences in craftsmanship. Is that something that we should even talk about? I think we should. I think we should talk about what the differences are. There's nothing wrong with any of these pens. They're all fabulous. What I have learned since I have received these a couple days ago is that I definitely do like swirls when I see them up close, because they are absolutely mesmerizing and fantastic. I'm not the person who would go out and seek out these swirly pens, but I have definitely come to learn why other people love those and what makes them so fascinating. So I think, Jackie, these pens are so awesome. You picked such nice pens. I hope this was a great video for you all to see the different pens. If you haven't yet, Sarah from Ginger Peachy Pens has a much bigger sampling size of handmade, hand-turned fountain pens than I have. She shared a video just recently about all of the pens that she owns and talks about what she loves about each maker and what she doesn't like so much about the makers. So if you want to get some more ideas of pen makers instead of these 3 that I just shared, please check out her video. I loved watching it, and I loved seeing all the different pens and models that you can make. It's fascinating. And I am so looking forward to the San Francisco Pen Show and checking out all of the fountain pens that these makers make. I want to see all of their pens. I want to judge them. No, I don't. I just want to look at their how do I say this? I want to look at the craftsmanship word. If you did a bingo card, it's probably full already, but I want to look at their at how they make their pens. This is definitely has expanded my interest in hand-turned pens beyond the Yovo stick that I lovingly call them sometimes, and beyond the swirly resin for sure. So there's more to these handmade fountain pens than just the swirl. Thank you so much for watching. I really loved geeking out about these pens right now. I can't wait to ink this up and experience the writing for myself. I hope wherever you are having a great day. Until next time, bye.